Now, for the next part, I don't want to single out Caleb Williams. I just think he's a very good example of a case of overhyping prospects. Because Caleb Williams, he's a rookie quarterback, came in with a first overall pick, so that team isn't in the best situation, even if they did trade for that pick. But in general, the Chicago Bears weren't that good of a team anyways. So he comes into a not great situation in terms of culture, but he does have some very good weapons around him in terms of wide receivers. And even running back, on paper, look good. DeAndre Swift had a real good year for Philly last year, although he hasn't lived up to that in Chicago. But the expectations for Caleb Williams, because of the weapons he had, despite the Bears losing culture, the expectations were very high, and he was deemed as a generational prospect, the best prospect we've seen since Andrew Luck. And he has not lived up to that. He's not thrown a touchdown pass in either of his 2 games, and I believe the Bears have only had a single offensive touchdown throughout the year already. And I don't want to knock Caleb for that too much, because guess what? This guy's a rookie quarterback. He's just now adjusting to the league. It's going to take time for him to become a really, really good quarterback, because the great seasons we see from a guy like C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert, Baker Mayfield, those are major, major outliers. Most of the time, rookie quarterbacks don't perform all that well, and that's why I think giving them huge expectations with a label like generational prospect, it's only going to set them up for failure. And guys like Wemby going over to the NBA, those are also major outliers, because guess what? He actually lived up to the hype. And I, for one, was not huge on Wemby going into his rookie year, just because I thought no matter what he did, he wasn't going to be able to live up to the expectations that people had for him. And he did, so credit to him. But most guys aren't going to do that. Most guys you consider a generational prospect, it's still going to take them some time to learn the game. They're not going to go in and instantly be throwing for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns to no picks. There's a major, major learning curve, or else otherwise, why wouldn't we all go pro, right? So I think calling Caleb Williams a generational prospect, I understand it. But truthfully, I wasn't super impressed by what I saw with him at USC. Now, was he great there? Yes. But a lot of the time, he kind of played hero ball, and it was to varying success, USC, sometimes they won, sometimes they didn't. They were kind of a middling team in terms of record. So, and he didn't have the best O-line there, and he doesn't have the best O-line for Chicago now, so I think that is a part of it. But talking about him playing hero ball over at USC, the thing with that is, now that he gets into the NFL, that doesn't work out. And credit to him, from everything the announcers have said, from what I've seen from Caleb personally, he's trying to do that less. He's trying to be more of a traditional quarterback and run the offense. And credit to him for that. But once again, that takes a learning curve. So he's not instantly going to go from being this hero ball player to an elite field general. So I think we need to give him time to develop. And calling him a generational prospect is only going to set him up for below expectations in terms of play. Even if he's a solid rookie quarterback, we've seen worse performances from Bo Nix up to this point. Or, I don't know. If you watch the games, at least, Bo Nix, he doesn't look as good as the stats say, because he threw for 250 yards. He had no touchdowns, but he had 250 yards. But if you watch the games, he doesn't look very comfortable. So I would say Caleb has been better, because he at least looks more comfortable in the offense. But overall, once again, I think he would set the expectations too high, and Caleb will be fine in the long run, but let's not overreact, because I think that can very much happen. I've seen it in the NFL Instagram comments, and Instagram comments aren't the best place to be anyways in terms of overreactions, right? Because all of it's just so reactionary. But let's not overreact about Caleb. Let's let him have time and work things out, and he will be fine in the long run. We just set the expectations too high with calling him a generational prospect. There's only a select few guys that can come into the league and dominate, and he's not one, and that is okay. If you enjoyed this video, it would be great if you could find it in you to like, subscribe, maybe check out the full podcast on Spotify, follow us on there, follow us on Instagram. I know realistically this podcast isn't going to go anywhere ultimately, whether it's via the segments on YouTube or the entire podcast itself. But I want to get into the sports broadcasting business. I want to be able to promote thought-provoking discussions about the NBA, and I would love to do it via State of the Association. Thank you if you made it all the way through.